obviously with our Student Awareness Week, I just want to highlight two more guys today. The first being Leon McQuay, who's a music industry major, came from the state of Florida. And what I think is interesting about Leon is he came here, one, to play football, but also because we have that music industry major. And I thought it was pretty cool last weekend on the Pac-12 network that they feature some of his music, some of his beats. He's developing a good relationship with Dr. Dre, that whole thing, and so it's exciting that we can have that major, and we have a player in that major, and he's doing really cool stuff and has got a bright future as a producer down the road. The second guy I want to highlight is Robbie Colans. He's the grandson of Stan Chambers, obviously legendary broadcaster here. Robbie's a broadcast journalism major. He's interned with our sports information department. He obviously, he works with Pat when it comes to researching some of the stuff with the college football playoffs. So again, just a couple guys that are a little bit unique to our program that aren't necessarily in just kind of your, follow in line with the same majors. They're doing something different. They have aspirations with life after football. So again, pretty cool for us that we're able to kind of take their helmets off and share their stories and their uniqueness and what they bring to our locker room. As far as today's practice, got a little bit more work out of Kevon, not full go obviously yet, but got a little bit more work out of him. Outside of that, we look pretty good. Lamar practiced today. I'll have to go look at the tape to really analyze his play, but it was good to have him out there really going and playing. As always, Wednesdays we refer to them as lunch pail and hard hat days. They're grinders. It's a back-to-back day from Tuesday, which is a difficult physical practice. We have another one on Wednesday, and it's one of those days where you're really trying to clean up some of the stuff in the base game plan, looking at third down scenarios, and then still fighting through some of the soreness. So it's imperative tomorrow that we come out really focused and really clean up some of the nuances in the game plan, with really attentive to the details of what we're trying to get accomplished. But I think the guys are in a good place, good spirit. It was a hard physical practice. I love the energy of the defense, the physicality of the defense today. So that was very encouraging.
Do you feel like the intensity of practice has taken a couple steps up since training camp?
Well, I think, what it does, Lindsay, is when we get into game weeks, these guys know our format, and Tuesdays and Wednesdays are our work days. They're meat and potato days, and they know that in training camp, when you start going 5 days in a row and those practices are back to back to back, sometimes it's hard to get that level up every single time. When you're in season and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you got your 9-on-7, your team runs, your team periods. They know it's goods on goods. Plus we've got our service periods. I think that they do know, hey, these are our 2 days to really go. The intensity's got to be high. Thursdays is really about the focus and the details of the game plan. They're not nearly as physical. Friday, really clean it up in our walkthrough, and away we go Saturday. So I think they understand the process, they understand the formula, so they're really giving us a lot of intensity and energy on Tuesday and Wednesday, and as a coach, you appreciate that.
We obviously don't know yet, but if Kevon were unavailable Saturday, how might that affect how much Dory plays on offense?
Well, it remains to be seen. As I always say, that every game takes on its own personality. Last year against Stanford, we only had really 2 drives in the first half offensively. So it just depends on number of plays, 3 and outs, third down conversions, the flow of the game. But we'll know, we'll have every play that he's ran. We'll monitor every snap that he takes. We're not trying to have him go out there and run 120 plays. But we need him to play quality football when he's out there.
How's Iman Marshall performed so far?
Very well. Iman's played very well. He's a physical player. For a young player, his football IQ is really high. He understands the game. He gets route concepts. He's extremely competitive. So all those things added together, it's allowed him just to play very confident football as a true freshman. He hasn't been perfect, but I think his level of play really increased from week 1 to week 2, and he's obviously getting extended reps now here into week 3, and so he's doing a really good job for us.
Has he played the most reps that you said after the first game he had?
Yeah.
Is he still?
Just about, yeah. He was very close in the second game. I think Chenna Nwosu was up there as well, when you add up special teams and defensive reps.
Personnel-wise, are you in a place where you can kind of try to, a team like Stanford, push them and kind of, really up-tempo them and try to?
Well, we think our depth. Well, we think our depth is our strength. That's why we really made it a point in the first 2 games to play our guys and to get them that experience of playing college football. As we get into this game and as the flow of the game goes, we'll monitor our substitution patterns and when to really utilize our platoon system and when to leave maybe some guys out there a little longer. But the idea behind it all is, these are going to become 4-quarter games, and we want to be at our best in the 4th quarter. We want a fresh football team, a team that's executing at a high level at the most critical moments, which a year ago we weren't. And I think we have a chance to do that this year, and so that's the attempt behind all this.
Have you liked what you've seen from your tight end group through 2 weeks, and specifically, how have you seen Tyler Petit grow?
I have been. I think they've been a pleasant surprise. I think there was a lot of question marks at that position group. They've been very functional. They've caught the ball when we've thrown to them. They've blocked well. They've come in with a real focus. I think Tyler, that's a big transition to go from high school, where you're half the time a slot receiver, sometimes your hand in the ground tight end, to really becoming a tight end. But he's a weapon for us. He's got a great athleticism. We're anxious to try to get him the ball a little bit more. But all in all, the game hasn't been too big for him, like a lot of our freshmen. He's just gone in, and we threw him the ball last week. He caught it and got 7 or 8 yards and made his play and kept going. So Taylor's been that way, and Connor Spears, when he's gotten his shot, has been effective.
Stanford, like you, has a 5th-year senior quarterback. What's your assessment of Kevin Hogan?
Well, Kevin, when he gets hot, is very, very scary. We saw that at the end of last season against UCLA and Maryland. We saw it last week against Central Florida. When he can get going, he just starts to find his rhythm. So it's going to be big for us to try to not allow him to get into that rhythm, to try to keep him as uncomfortable as we can. David does an excellent job of putting him in position to find that rhythm, and so we have to try to negate some of the easier throws to make it hard on him. We need to be sticky in the back end, but like anything, he's seen a lot. We're not going to throw a defense out there that he hasn't seen before, but we do need to try to make him as uncomfortable as possible.
For someone like Juju, who kind of has such a carefree personality but then manages to prepare and focus and play with such intensity, how does he manage to be both at the same time?
I think Juju's, if not the most competitive, one of the most competitive guys on our team. And I think those competitive juices aren't just when he steps between the white lines. It's all day, every day. I mean, that guy is an unbelievable competitor. So he prepares to compete, knowing he wants to be at his best when it's time to go. So it's not just the physical preparation, it's his mental preparation, it's his emotional preparation. He's got an infectious personality. I mean, he really pushes the guys in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's his carefree, fun-loving attitude. Sometimes it's him getting on them, but he's got great leadership qualities, and he can speak that way because he puts himself in position to know exactly what he needs to do and what others need to do as well, and I think guys respect him for that.
When you recruited him, did you know that he could be this good as a receiver?
We thought he was going to be a really good player. You have to see a guy mature and develop, obviously. That's why we started him out at receiver when we first got him. We were hopeful that that's what it could be, and he hasn't disappointed us. He's been really good in the route running and catching the ball and the deep throws and the short game. He's a very physical blocker, which allows us to run the football to his side, to spring runs. He's unbelievable on special teams. We almost have to fight at times to keep him off special teams. He wants to be on every one. So he's just a great competitor, and he's a guy that is really cherishing the opportunity or the role to be kind of the go-to guy, and he's earned it. He works at it. It's not by fluke. He definitely works at it.
Stanford kind of has a reputation of being, a grinded-out, plodding offense, but they have playmakers. And
sure.
Who kind of stands out to you, and how do you?
I think a lot of what they do revolves around McCaffrey. He's a really versatile back. He's their kick returner, he's their punt returner, he's their leading rusher and their leading receiver. So we need to know where number 5 is every snap, essentially. He's going to get fly sweeps, he's going to get wildcat stuff. So he kind of starts their engine. The 2 wideouts, Rector and Cajuste, are kind of different players. Rector can really run. We recruited him hard in high school. He's a very fast kid, deep threat. Cajuste is a bigger wide receiver. And then they have 2 talented tight ends in Schultz and Hooper. So they've got plenty of weapons to get things cooking and get the ball moving. And David obviously is a fantastic coach and play caller. So we saw that last year. They started throwing the ball on us last year some. So we need to cover them better than we did a year ago to hold, hopefully force Kevin to hold the ball a little bit longer than he did last year.
Do one more.
Or not.
Thanks, guys.